am John, host of Video Games in the World, and today's episode of the Season 1 Reboot is about women in video games. This episode is to celebrate Women's History Month. This will not only be about female video game characters that talk about damsels in distress and strong women that are playable protagonists, but also to recognize all the women in game development. In Season 2, I made an episode about protagonists and developers that are female, so this is not only a remake of Women in Video Games, which was deleted, but also combined with the Season 2 episode and remade as well. There was a time when video games were usually marketed to men and boys, but as time went by, even women and girls got into the action. A lot of women praise video games, but a lot of women also do not so much due to certain things that we'll talk about in this episode. So gamers, enjoy the episode. But I warn you, any sexist and misogynistic comments are strongly ill-advised and will be unceremoniously removed, and you will be blocked. Don't be small. So what exactly is Women's History Month? Women's History Month is an annual declared month to celebrate the social, political, and economic achievements and contributions of women worldwide, and also to celebrate their scientific and artistic achievements, as well as their athletic achievements. Originally, it started as Women's History Week. Women's History Month traces its beginnings back to the first International Women's Day in 1911, 110 years ago. In 1978, the school district of Sonoma, California participated in Women's History Week, an event designed around the week of March 8th. In 1979, a 15-day conference about women's history was held at Sarah Lawrence College from July 13 until July 29, chaired by historian Gerda Lerner. It was co-sponsored by Sarah Lawrence College, the Women's Action Alliance, and the Smithsonian Institution. When its participants learned about the success of the Sonoma County's Women's History Week celebration, they decided to initiate similar celebrations within their own organizations, communities, and school districts. They also agreed to support an effort to secure a National Women's History Week. In 1987, after being petitioned by the National Women's History Project, Congress passed Prop L 109, which designated the month of March 1987 as Women's History Month. Between 1988 and 1994, Congress passed additional resolutions requesting and authorizing the President to proclaim March of each year as Women's History Month. Since 1988, U.S. presidents have issued an annual proclamation designating the month of March as Women's History Month. There was a time when women were considered the lesser people. How so? Because in that time it was believed that a woman's place was home and the children. Most of that type of belief was due to religious tradition and morality, and at times, most governments feared that women would change things for the worse, as they would claim. What they wanted to change was things that kept women and girls down, such as being told that women and girls should be seen and not heard. What these women were asking for was not special treatment, power, and supremacy. What they were asking for was equality. But these governments would not only put women and girls down, but harm men and boys who spoke out against the poor treatment of women and girls, as well as various things that were harmful to men and women as well as boys and girls, such as toxic expectations, traits, and attitudes. Unfortunately, in some countries, due to a certain religion or ruling governments, women are seen as lesser people, which is very, very sad. As time went by, all that started to change, and things are still changing. Over time, women have proven to be great civil rights and political leaders, authors, scientists, artists, and great icons that fought for a better tomorrow, not only for women and girls, but for everyone. Many women have fought to bring down oppressive rulings that kept them down for so long, that denied them the right to vote, education, property ownership, child custody, jobs, and equal pay. There are still some problems regarding such things, but it bears repeating that things are changing. In contemporary times, women will march for equality and also resisting governments, dictatorships, and regimes that were detrimental to women and girls as well as men and boys, and also speaking out against ideologies that were demeaning to women and girls as well as men and boys. The fight for gender equality continues all over the world as there are certain issues that need to be dealt with, and I pray that these issues are dealt with while calling out those who are being detrimental to the cause while claiming to be for gender equality. Is game development a man's world only? Of course not. There are female game developers that are influential in the gaming industry in the most positive way, won various awards, and made best-selling award-winning video games. Others have said how games can make a positive influence in one's life. These are the most well-known female game developers that created such fantastic games that we all know and love. Carol Shaw is the very first female game developer of the video gaming industry. While working at Atari in 1978, Shaw designed the unreleased Polo game and designed the 3D Tic-Tac-Toe the same year, both for the Atari 2600. Shaw's official job title at Atari was microprocessor software engineer. Later, she joined Activision, where she programmed her best-known game, River Raid. According to the River Raid manual, she is also a scholar in the field of computer science. Donna Bailey is also one of the very first female game designers. Along with Ed Logg, in 1981 created the arcade video game Centipede. As a young programmer, Bailey was hired by General Motors and trained in assembly language programming. She worked there for 2 years on displays and microprocessor-based cruise control systems. She became interested in Space Invaders and the world of arcade games. Another application of the work she was doing at GM, she found out that Atari was using the same microprocessor in its games. In 1980, Bailey joined Atari's coin-op division, where she was the only woman. In an interview, Bailey recalled that Atari had a notebook of possible game ideas at the time. Of the 30 or so entries, the only one without lasering or frying things was a short description of a bug ending down the screen. It is synced back to shoot a bug. Bailey left Atari in 1982 and went to work at Vidya, founded by 3 former Atari employees. In 2007, she was the keynote speaker at the Women in Games International Conference. Bailey holds MED and MA degrees and taught as a faculty member in the Department of Rhetoric and Writing at University of Arkansas at Little Rock until her retirement. Brenda Romero worked in the industry in 1981. She climbed the ranks to become lead designer on the influential and award-winning RPG video game Wizardry, and went on to work for Atari on the Dungeons & Dragons series. She served as a program director for the Masters of Science in Games and Playable Media program at UC Santa Cruz, and has developed a series of non-digital games, as well as being active in the study of sex in video games and in historical game archiving. Kiki Wolfkill is a current executive producer of the Halo series of games at Microsoft. She also served as an art director for Microsoft projects including Project Gotham Racing, Mass Effect, Gears of War, and Forza Motorsport. It has been her task to spearhead the 343i team not only on Halo 4 and beyond, but also to keep track of the spin-off comics, novels, and other material that make up the franchise. Wolfkill's next work will presumably be the sequel to Halo 4, and it was. Amy Hennig is one of the most loved and appreciated video game developers to creating these best-selling games such as Uncharted, Crash Bandicoot, and also contributed to the Jak and Daxter series of games. Recently, she was planning a Star Wars video game. Unfortunately, the project didn't go into production, which EA put its nail on the coffin with Star Wars. Jane McGonigal is an author of the book Reality is Broken. She is also well known for advocating the use of mobile and digital technology to channel positive attitudes and collaboration in a real-world context. Aya Kyogoku is known for games such as Animal Crossing, Four Swords Adventure, Twilight Princess, and the wizardry title Tale of the Forsaken Land. Corinne Yu is also known for games such as Borderlands and was hired by Microsoft's 343 Industries division as Halo 4's lighting designer and visual animator. She now works for Naughty Dog as a graphic programmer. Janelle Jacques is well known for her work with games like Dungeons & Dragons scenarios after starting out as an editor of a fanzine, then moved to the video gaming world in the 1980s, where she designed conversions of many popular games such as Pac-Man and Donkey Kong for the ColecoVision arcade home console. She has also worked for Electronic Arts and other large gaming companies throughout the 1990s and 2000s, including doing art design for Halo Wars and Age of Empires 3. More recently, she was a level designer for the World of Darkness MMO, and is a founding member of Old School, a game development studio formed by 4 female veterans of the video game and tabletop game industries. Rihanna Pratchett worked with Heavenly Sword and was a main writer and co-story of the creator for Mirror's Edge and the lead writer for the 2013 reboot of Tomb Raider. She also wrote the script for Overlord for Triumph Studios and penned comic book tie-ins for Tomb Raider and Mirror's Edge, as well as writing background dialogue for BioShock Infinite and Prince of Persia. There are several female game developers who did an amazing job with various games like The Sims and many more, such as Lucy Bradshaw, Kelly Santiago, Lisette Titre Montgomery, Laura Teclamariam, Anna Anthropy, Helena Santos, Elizabeth Sampat, Kim Swift, Aurélie Devant, Jade Raymond, Anna Kipnis, and many more. So what exactly is a damsel in distress? A young woman in trouble with the implication that the woman needs to be rescued as by a prince in a fairy tale. It is also a classical theme seen in world literature, art, and video games. Even before video games, there were stories of damsels in distress such as Perseus saving Andromeda from the Beast, Rapunzel, The Myth of St. George, Jane Porter from Tarzan, Lois Lane from Superman, Vicky Vale from Batman, and Olive Oyl from Popeye. However, before Samus Aran, Chun-Li, and Claire Redfield existed, damsels in distress were commonplace in video games. In the original Donkey Kong before Princess Peach, Mario rescued his original girlfriend called Pauline. Mario, then known as Jumpman, had to jump over barrels, avoid obstacles, and reach the top to save his girlfriend Pauline. In many games today, there are damsels in distress. The main examples are Princesses Peach and Zelda. Peach is known to being captured dozens of times in many Mario games, but she is capable of kicking major butt in games like Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario RPG, Super Princess Peach, the Smash Bros. Series of games, Super Paper Mario, Super Mario 3D World, and Super Mario 3D Land. Peach being captured is a tradition of the Mario franchise that is so hard to omit. In other media such as the cartoons, Peach would help the Mario brothers fight the bad guys, which proves she can be more than just a damsel. However, in Super Mario Galaxy and the sequel, the tables are turned as Bowser's kidnapping of Peach hurts him more than it hurts her, as he is defeated once again by Mario. In Super Mario Land, Daisy takes the role of the damsel in distress rather than Peach. Princess Zelda is also another famous damsel in distress, but she doesn't play the trope precisely straight. We all know that Link saves her every time she's captured, but before, she cooks up a smart, intelligent plan such as splitting the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 parts, mentoring Link as Sheik, using her power alongside the maidens to break the barrier at Ganon's Tower, being extremely helpful at the end of Twilight Princess, being the leader of a band of pirates in Wind Waker, and in Skyward Sword, barely avoids a kidnapping. There are various other damsels in games such as the Fire Emblem series, Suikoden 5, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy X. Although in these 3 games, while Rosa, Aerith, and Yuna are in distress in different parts of the game, they prove themselves to be great fighters and strong as well. Ghosts and Goblins, Double Dragon, and so on. These damsels have received criticism as being regressive and patronizing of women and making people believe that women are prized by people like Anita Sarkeesian. She tries to make people think and believe that these women are prizes for the male gaze and systemized sexuality. But are they such a thing? Short answer, no. Why are they getting captured in the first place? In the case of Peach, it's because she's a strong political figure for her people. Bowser captures her as a power struggle for dominion over the kingdom. Should something happen to her, the kingdom will be in disarray and the people turn to someone to save the princess, the kingdom, and last but not least, the day. In Zelda's case, is the same as being a strong political figure, but also the fact is that Zelda is a key to a higher power, the Triforce. Ganon wants to use her in order to obtain all three Triforces so he can be able to obtain the true force and become unstoppable. But Zelda in Twilight Princess was possessed by Ganon's evil power, and Link needed to fight her in order to make her come back to her senses. Last but not least, in Assassin's Creed, Altair helps a lot of women in villages from guards who are harassing them. Not to forget that he has also saved some distressed abbots and Islamic scholars from such guards. Altair is rewarded by their family/students to help them escape from the soldiers pursuing him whenever he commits an assassination that makes him their target. According to an episode of Feminist Frequency, these Tropes vs. Women series, Anita Sarkeesian stated an example of the Metroid ending where Samus Aran was revealed to be a woman and she said that gamers want a woman as a trophy. But is that true? No. The revelation of Samus being a woman was an iconic moment in video gaming history and proved that women can be just as butt kickers and badass as males. And in other games, women are such rewards for the male gaze? But are they such trophies? No. There is no evidence to support the claim that these women are such sex trophies. When Samus Aran removed her armor at the end of the Metroid game, it actually proved that women can be just as strong as males kicking monster and alien butt altogether, not a reward or a trophy. Yeah, she has skimpy clothing, yes, but that doesn't mean that she's a trophy or a reward. When players achieve the ending where Samus removed all of her clothes, players can replay the game as her not wearing the power suit. This is in no way something created for the male gaze or sexual stimulation, because in all facts we know that she's only a pixelated character, and it's not exactly like gamers are getting inside the television and try to hit on her. Despite making some valid points, Sarkeesian will also say about prostitutes in video games that they are coded as systemized sexuality. An example being games such as Grand Theft Auto and God of War. Truth is, prostitutes in video games are coded because they have existed since the dawn of mankind and will always exist for the foreseeable future. So, why people go into prostitution in real life? Well, because of poverty, lack of jobs, desperation, and also due to a toxic family life. In Grand Theft Auto, while having sex with prostitutes, their health increases up to 120 while losing money at the same time. In God of War games, Kratos obtains red orbs after sex with women. Why Kratos has sex with all these women? After unintentionally killing his wife and daughter, he would often calm his sorrows with wine and women. A lot of the women he sleeps with reminded him of his late wife. However, the video games of God of War Ascension and the PS4 God of War title, they do not have sex minigames that Kratos has sex with women. In Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood and Revelations, Ezio uses prostitutes to distract guards in order to proceed. As a matter of fact, these prostitutes work for a madame who is part of the Order, so technically, they will help Ezio in any way they can. Now, we all know Ezio to be a ladies' man, and in Assassin's Creed there is a scene where he undresses Christina, but is that a reward for visiting her? No. Ezio and Christina are lovers. They were in love and emotionally attached to one another. And he saves Christina from being harassed by Vieri de Pazzi, as seen in a flashback in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Also, in one of the flashbacks, Ezio was distraught when the woman he loved was killed by Savonarola's fanatics. Not to mention distraught that she was marrying someone else, unfortunately. Previously, while talking about Damsels-in-Distress, Sarkeesian will also state that saving princesses are women as rewards. No. As previously stated, they are in distress because they are strong political figures, love interest of the hero, relative of the hero, the key to a higher power, or she has some sort of power within her that could change the world for the better or for the worse if abused by her captor. If you want to talk about rewards, Mary rewards Billy with a kiss because he rescued her and he's her boyfriend. Men and women would get themselves into danger for one another in other stories as well, because they love each other and they would do anything for each other to get themselves in danger to protect each other. And that is a fact. Are video games a thing for men and boys only? No. women and girls can play video games too. There was a time during the 80s and 90s when people said that only children can play video games, and also people would say that only men and boys play video games. But that is not true. Video games are for everybody. A well-remembered female gamer and competitor at the mere age of 58 years old was Doris Day, who competed in a video game tournament in 1983. There are still many female gamers that compete up until this day. A 2008 Gallup poll indicated that half of all American video game players in 2014 were women. In 2014, in the UK and in Spain, women comprised 52% and 48% of video game players respectively. Both men and women play video games, but studies suggest differences in platform and game genre preference. The Entertainment Software Rating Board reports that in 2010, 80% of female console gamers played on Wii, 11% on the 360, and 9% on the PS3. By comparison, 38% of male console gamers in the year 2014 play on the 360, 41% played on the Wii, and 21% played on the PS3. A 2013 study by Fleury looked at the different mobile gaming preferences between men and women. Women made up 60% to 80% of the solitaire, slots, social turn-based, match 3, bubble shooter, management simulation, and quiz game markets. Men, on the other hand, made up between 60 to 80% of the strategy, shooter, card battle, racing, and action RPG markets. A 2014 SuperData research study found that men and women enjoyed video games, but some genres are attracting one gender more than the other. Women compose 57.8% of the mobile market, 53.6% of the RPG market, and 50.2% of the PC market. The study found that men make up 66% of MMO players, 66% of FPS players, and 63% of digital console players. While male audiences are the majority in genres such as first-person shooters, tactical shooters, racing, and sports, female audiences show a high percentage of gameplay in genres such as RPG, MMORPG, platformer, puzzles, atmospheric exploration, family or farming simulators like Farmville, action-adventure, interactive drama, and action RPG, and also make the majority in games like Candy Crush, Stardew Valley, etc. What drew women into video games during its rising days were games like Pac-Man and its spin-off, Ms. Pac-Man, which struck a blow for gender equality. Most people believe that a lot of women only play games that are constructive or story-driven, but that is not entirely true. In 2013, Variety reported that 30% of women were playing more violent games. Of this 30%, 20% played Call of Duty and 15% played Grand Theft Auto. There has been persistent female interest in action-adventure games and MMORPGs like World of Warcraft and Second Life. Compared to males, female MMORPG players tend to place more emphasis on socialization relative to achievement-oriented play. This emphasis on socialization extends beyond just the game itself. In a study published in the Journal of Communication in 2009, researchers found that 61% of female MMORPG players played with a romantic partner compared to 24% of men. According to data collected by Quantic Foundry in 2016, the primary motivations why people play video games differ on average by gender. While men frequently want to compete mostly with others and destroy things, women often want most to complete challenges and immerse themselves in other worlds. While playing online or streaming, there can be certain problems with female gamers such as name-calling and bullying. Not to mention in streams that there are some people who can go a bit too far only talking about how hot she really is rather than skill. Many of the female streamers I have watched play online are very skilled. I follow them because they share my love for gaming and also amazing skills. Because I believe that women are more than just their beauties and their body. They can be brains. Can be brains. A strong female character in a movie, video game, comic book, TV show, anime, or manga is a woman who can fight just as hard as a male can. She can save lives of both men and women. My favorite examples of women who represent female empowerment in entertainment are Wonder Woman, Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Buffy Summers, Supergirl, Ellen Ripley, Xena, Sarah Lance, Jessica Cruz, Cyber Six, Kaoru Kamiya, Neytiri, Sarah Connor, Rey, Katniss Everdeen, Jyn Erso, Michonne, Lisbeth Salander, Arya Stark, Daenerys Targaryen, Sansa Stark, Korra, Katara, Asami, Hermione Granger, and many more. These women show to women and girls that they can be strong, independent, and proud. Many believe that the first female protagonist in video games is Samus Aran, but the truth is that she is not. Games by Apollo is also known for having the first female game character in a video game. Billy Sue, a strong woman, has to defend her farm from pesky rabbits in the game Wabbit. Others before Samus Aran include Princess from the forgotten game Sega Ninja and Masuyo Tobi from Namco's Baraduke. Samus Aran of the Metroid games is one of the most popular iconic strong women in video games. She is mainly based on the character of Ellen Ripley of the Alien franchise. When beating the game in a certain time, Samus can either remove her helmet or her suit, thus revealing to the world that she was a woman. At first, many gamers believed that Samus was either a robot or a man, but it was revealed after all that she was a woman. This was an iconic moment in video game history, thus striking a blow for gender equality and proving that women can kick butt just as males can kick a lot of butt, and not be just damsels in distress. Lara Croft is also another perfect example on how women can kick butt and take crap for nobody. Lara Croft is the main protagonist in the Tomb Raider series of video games, and she's among the best-known strong female characters in video games. However, since her debut 25 years ago, she has also been the subject of criticism due to her unrealistic bust size. Lara was claimed to personify an ongoing culture clash over gender, sexuality, empowerment, and objectification. In the 2008 Tomb Raider title, Croft was depicted in hot pants and midriffs, and was said to look like she was dressed by a male. However, the game's creators maintain that she was not designed with the marketing in mind, and have claimed to be rather surprised at her pin-up style and adoration. In Tomb Raider Legend, as well as a reboot, Lara underwent a radical redesign, ostensibly to make her less sexualized. Nariko is another known example of strong women in video games, mainly in the Heavenly Sword video game. Because her birth defied the prophecy revolving around the Heavenly Sword, Nariko was continually heaped with scorn and derision from the rest of her clan. The negative attitudes towards her remained even after she had matured to a beautiful and intelligent warrior. Even her father displayed little affection towards her, making their relationship strictly professional. Despite this, Nariko remained fiercely loyal and protective of her clan and family, and as shown in Chapter 2, she placed herself in considerable personal danger to rescue her clan members. Her cunning and combat prowess would eventually lead to her father trusting her with protecting the sword. Her fierce determination was so great that by cleverly appealing to the sword's own ego, she was able to manipulate and convince the sword to delay her death enough so that she could defeat King Bohan and the Raven King. She controlled the relationship, not the sword. Some strong females can be support characters as an ally or sidekick, such as Elena Fisher from Uncharted, Ada Wong from Resident Evil, Mona Sachs from Max Payne, and many more. Ada and Mona were playable characters in later games, as well as Ada being a playable character in Resident Evil 2, the original game, and its remake, and also in Resident Evil 4, in the standalone story, Separate Ways. Other strong women were not heroines, but they were also villains that were a force to be reckoned with. These villainesses were usually portrayed as either dark and seductive, or just dark and someone that could make you angry due to her personality being like treating someone like insects. The Dark Queen of the Battletoads series and its sequels is a well-known villain, and there were also others like Ultimecia of Final Fantasy VIII, Pandora in God of War, Chains of Olympus, and many more. What other games feature strong women in it? Fire Emblem has its share of strong women like Keita, Vanessa, Tana, and many more. But are there female leaders of a unit and protagonists? Yes, and here are their examples. In Fire Emblem The Blazing Sword for the Game Boy Advance, we are introduced to Lindis, or simply Lyn. Lyn is from the plains of Sakai and goes on a journey to meet her grandfather, who is a noble lord named Hausen. Not only she will avenge her tribe against the bandits, but she will also meet two knights, Sane and Kent. And her group grows a lot bigger as her journey progresses. Sane and Kent were both sent to find her and bring her before her grandfather. Although they were ordered by a power-hungry noble called Lundgren to kill her, they decided to bring her before her grandfather and ignored Lundgren's orders. Lyn then leads a group not only to fighting bandits but also against the forces of the power-hungry Lundgren. During this journey, she realizes that her mother was from Kalen and her father was a nomad from Sakai, and they fell in love against Hausen's wishes. But then Hausen realized he cannot interfere in his daughter's happiness because everyone deserves to be happy. In the next part of the story, she joins with Eliwood and Hector to fight against the evil forces of Nurgle, who seek to release the dragons and wreak havoc upon Elebay. Another interesting thing about the Blazing Sword is that gamers can decide whether the strategist is a male or a female. Some of the female villains also lead their own groups, such as Limstella, Sonia, and there's also Ursula of the Four Fangs, which is the elite group of the Black Fang criminals in the game. In Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones, Erika is also a leader and in her own story before her brother Ephraim's story. Erika is a princess of the Kingdom of Renes. When she escapes, she can hold on her own and even becomes a leader of a group with her second-in-command, Seth. She was also taught to fight by her brother because she does not want to be incapable of defending herself. She wanted to learn, and her brother complied. Selena is a Grotto general. Although an antagonist, she seems to be very questioning herself and the kingdom, but dies bravely in combat. La Rachelle is a troubadour that leads her own small group and joins with Erika as well. In Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, there's Micaiah. She is the de facto leader of the Dawn Brigade, which seeks to free the Kingdom of Dain from the Betnian Occupational Army, which rules a kingdom with an iron fist. Before her role as a leader, she was a fortune teller, and later, after the events of Path of Radiance, she led the Dawn Brigade, and people saw her as a symbol of hope and a Christ-like figure due to her powers. She succeeds in liberating Dain, but it's only the beginning of her troubles due to the blood pact that Peleus unknowingly signed during peace talks with Betnian. At the end of the game, she becomes a Queen of Dain. In Part 2 of Radiant Dawn, Elincia is a Queen of Crimea. However, many people seek to overthrow her, such as the rebel leader Duke Ludwig of Felleray, but she reminds him that strength alone does not make a great leader, but also conviction and compassion. And also, revenge against Dain will not bring those who died back. It'll become a lot worse. Lucia can lead a small unit to spy on Ludwig and learn of his plotting to overthrow the noble ruler of Crimea. Also noted in terms of female leadership are Apostle Sonaki from Betnian, Sigrun leading a unit of Pegasus Knights along her second-in-command, Tanith, and in the series, Pegasus Knights are universally female, but in Fates, Shigure is the first male Pegasus Knight. Lucina in Awakening can be the main protagonist instead of Chrome, depending on the player's choices well. In Fates, players can decide if their avatar is a female as well. However, the main protagonist of the game is Asura. The Perfect Dark games are very unforgettable, and many gamers, including myself, wish to see a reboot or a new game. Although not as popular as GoldenEye, it's a memorable gem. Joanna Dark is the main protagonist of the Perfect Dark series of games. She's a very skilled agent and proficient fighter who embarks on many missions fighting terrorist organizations and a hostile alien race called the Scatter. According to lore, her father Jack Dark taught her to fight when she was 7 years of age, and also how to operate firearms. She briefly attended an American school in Beijing, China, but was expelled after hospitalizing another student following a bullying incident. As a result, she was homeschooled by her father, including some online and remote teaching tutoring by AI lecturers. Her innate curiosity filled in most of the gaps. In Perfect Dark Zero, prequel to the original game, Joanna assisted her father on her first field op, but things don't go so well and she has to rescue her father, in which she succeeds. She is later rescued by Jonathan Steinberg, who becomes her sidekick in the original Perfect Dark, and later becomes employed by the Carrington Institute. In the first game, she rescues an AI called Dr. Carroll from Datadyne and later her boss, Daniel Carrington. She will later be rescuing the President of the United States, a Mayan alien named Elvis, and even defeat the Skedar. What happens when you combine Jurassic Park and Resident Evil? Dino Crisis, a very much loved survival horror game that is remembered by old fans. The main protagonist in the first two games is Regina, who is part of a military group that has a mission to rescue Dr. Kirk on Ibis Island. Kirk, a leading energy researcher believed to have died tragically in an accident some years prior, had been identified by Tom as the facility's lead researcher and supervisor, though it appeared that the main research project at the facility was not in weapons development. Upon arrival on the island in her search for CEO, she is ambushed by a dinosaur and she investigates further. She discovers that the research facility has been attacked by dinosaurs, and Dr. Kirk is a culprit due to an experiment known as the Third Energy gone wrong. A rift in space was created and a pocket of the island from their time was exchanged with the same from the past, bringing dinosaurs back into their time. In the second game, due to the use of the Third Energy, time is being altered and the dinosaurs are becoming rampant. Regina must leap into action once again and save the world. Cynical, sarcastic, and sardonic, Regina treated missions and people in a detached, cool manner. Unfazed by gore or horror, she consistently proved herself an effective agent. Despite her unattached mannerisms, Regina cared for her team and the people they encountered, worrying about wayward agents and comforting dying men in their last moments. Regina seems to have a habit of interjecting humor in serious situations, such as when Gale finds blood and believes there was fighting, and Regina jokes, "I still say you could have done this." The Resident Evil series has a strong women such as Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield, Ada Wong, Sherry Birkin, Helena Harper, Sheva Alomar, and many more. Not to forget all the women from the Outbreak games. In Resident Evil 3, Jill fights to escape the Doom Raccoon City and joins forces with Carlos Oliveira of the UBCS mercenary force. When Carlos seems to lose hope, Jill smacks some sense into him to not give up. Claire Redfield is more of a main protagonist in Code Veronica X than Chris himself. Steve joins with Claire to escape from Rockford Island. Some would say he is a sidekick, but they work together as a team to escape. Sheva Alomar or Helena Harper wouldn't be called sidekicks, but mutual partners with Chris and Leon. Sherry can also be the lead depending on a player's choice. Operation Raccoon City has a female lead and the leader of her own squad. Her name is Karina Lespoul, also known as Lupo. Lupo leads the Wolfpack Delta Squad, and her mission is to destroy any incriminating evidence against Umbrella due to the T-Virus outbreak in Raccoon City. She has also to kill any survivors and witnesses, and can have the choice to kill Leon and Claire or let them escape. At one point she was married, but her husband proved to be a violent man, although she tolerated his abusive nature for the sake of their kids by relying on her training and discipline as a former soldier. However, she ultimately killed her spouse with her bare hands when he began abusing one of the children. The very first female protagonist in the series is Terra from Final Fantasy VI. She was a born half-human and half-Esper and was taken by the Gestalian Empire, which seeks to revive the destructive force called magic, which destroyed the world a millennia ago due to the War of the Magi. She later breaks free from her enslavement and joins with the group to fight against Gestal and Kefka. She leads her group, and Celes can do so as well. In Final Fantasy X-2, Yuna is more of a leader of the Gullwings than Brother. Why some would say that Yuna leads the group? Because she is more qualified to lead a group due to her calmness, her voice of reason, and does not back down from a fight. Her two companions are Riku and Pain. They can both advise her and comfort her whenever there are tight situations. The good memories and her friends are what keep her going, and she is seeking for her long-lost love, Tidus. Final Fantasy XII has Princess Ashe, who leads a resistance army against the Arcadian occupation. She with Vaan, Basch, Penelo, Balthier, and Fran journey around Ivalice to find a way to defeat Vayne and save the country of Dalmasca. If Vaan interferes in one of her explanations, she would tell him to shut it. Final Fantasy XIII has Lightning, who leads the group on a journey to overthrow the Sanctum. At first she is cold and distant, but she proves to be a caring person and even mentors Hope Estime in toughening himself up. Thanks to Lightning, Hope learns that being tough is not just about fighting, but also to think wisely. In Final Fantasy Tactics, although an enemy at first and not a protagonist, Melia Duel leads a force in Bervenia against Ramsa to avenge her brother. It is shown that her unit consists only of women. However, Melia Duel realizes the truth about her father Vormoth and joins with Ramsa to stop her father and the Lucavi from destroying Ivalice. Another well-known character in Final Fantasy Tactics is Agress Oaks, who is the protector of Princess Ovelia, and then joins with Ramsa in his journey to stop the Lucavi. Ellie starts out as a sidekick during her journey to Seattle with Joel, since the Fireflies believe she is secure due to her immunity of the cordyceps fungal infection. During her trip, she bonds with Joel and sees her as a somewhat fatherly figure. During the events of Left Behind, she tries to nurse him back to health while fighting infected and stragglers. But then their relationship becomes strained after she realizes the truth of why Joel decided to not allow her to be sacrificed by the Fireflies for a cure. During the events of the sequel, after a tragic loss, she goes on her quest to avenge Joel, who was killed at the hands of a former Firefly and later WLF member, Abby Anderson. However, she will soon realize that a path of revenge can have consequences on herself and those she cares about around her. A one iconic moment of Ellie is that in a flashback of the standalone DLC Left Behind is when she kisses her friend, Riley, thus revealing that she was a lesbian. This was one of the major steps for LGBT representation in video games. In The Last of Us Part 2, Abby Anderson is revealed to be a former Firefly whose father was killed at the end of the first game. She becomes a member of the WLF and kills Joel as retribution for her father's death. During the journey, she allies herself with Seraphite deserters Yara and Lev. In the end, she has to make a choice between her loyalty to the Wolves and her friendship with Yara and Lev. Now, lots of people hate Abby for killing Joel and hated playing with her as well. Now, even if gamers hate Abby, you might want to sympathize with her due to her father's death, especially since they had a very strong bond, as seen during the flashback where they saved a foal and reunited it with a zebra mother, which was cute in so many ways. One of the main protagonists of the game Call of Duty Modern Warfare is Farah Karim, and it was a huge step for the Call of Duty series of games to have a female character that is playable, since of course, the majority of main protagonists in the series are men. Farah had a tragic childhood as Russian forces in her homeland murdered her parents and her people. In her early adult years, she would be tortured by the men responsible for the murder of her parents, Roman Barakov. In her escape from her imprisonment, she would lead a group of women to freedom and begin a fight to liberate her country from the Russians. Farah is determined to protect her country and motherland. However, she does not use motives that are not moral, such as using chemical methods or affiliating with enemies. Hadir uses these methods and claims that he is not her brother anymore and tries to kill him for that. She has the same goal that her fellow Urzikistani people have, that to free her country that she was raised in. Farah has good capability of defending herself and even going into war to her enemies that she declares greedy and immoralistic. There are various other female leads that are very memorable, such as Max Caulfield for her friendly and calm nature and how she uses her time traveling skills for good. But she comes to realize that messing with time can have severe consequences. Cassie Cage has a very brash and cocky attitude like her father, but she is shown to care about her teammates and her parents. She will not let Shinnok kill her father, and she defeats his corrupted form at the end of Mortal Kombat X. In Mortal Kombat 11, she takes over command of the Special Forces after her mother Sonya is killed in battle. Chloe Price is dealing with tough issues such as not getting along with her stepdad, the loss of her father, adapting without the presence of her friend Max, and even falling for Rachel Amber. Players can decide whether Max and Chloe end up together and leave the devastated Arcadia Bay at the Season 1 finale of Life is Strange. Ayame of Tenchu changes from a laid-back girl into a more mature, accepting woman. And it is also known that in MMORPG and other RPG games, players can decide if their avatar is a male or a female, or in games like the Pokemon series since Pokemon Crystal onward, players can select the trainer to be female. Although not a protagonist, in the first Metal Gear Solid video game, Meryl Silverberg was a sidekick, but in Guns of the Patriots, she leads a small unit called Rat Patrol 01 and ends up marrying one of her teammates, Johnny Sasaki, also known as Akiba. And from Resident Evil Zero, there's Rebecca Chambers, a rookie police officer who teams up and works together with Billy Cohen. The more she learns about him, the more she believes in his innocence, and we see that she has a strong sense of justice. And let us not forget other memorable females such as Ayap Rhea, Heather Mason, Zoe Baker, Amanda Ripley, Bayonetta, Chun-Li, Faith, Aveline de Grandpré, Cassandra, Aloy, Female Shepherd, Female Rider, Aqua, the Women of Dead or Alive, Jess and Soph Blaskowicz, the Women of Soul Calibur, and also female Pokemon trainers. And the list goes on and on. And finally, in conclusion, as an egalitarian who believes in equality of the sexes, it has given me joy to do this. Now, at times developers can be a little bit too excessive with clothing buttocks and boobs and sexualizing them as well. But it's not like they're making it so males can find it totally hot and perpetuate certain fantasies, of course. Because at the end of the day, they're just pixelated characters. I'm not saying that they should not be designed that way, but a little bit of moderation can be good. I believe that women in video games should be more interesting with great development and story, not just for the fact of being women, but what stories can be told and that can make us relate to them in some way. I also believe that women developers should get more recognition for all these great stories that are told and those that are still to be told in gaming. And to all these girls who want to be designers, remember, you can do this and don't give up. I am John, host of Video Games in the World, and I hope you female gamers had a blessed Women's History Month. Have a good one, gamers. Later.